Hello and welcome back to another episode of this week's watches. It's actually episode 46. We are closing in on 50 of these, which is insane. So thank you very much to every single person who's watched one of these episodes, is watching right now, and ever will watch an episode. It's been quite incredible really to see how things have progressed. The quality's got better, and I hope that's going to be a thing that continues to evolve as the business continues to evolve. I do want to say as well, a big thank you for all the feedback on the Watch Pro videos, considering that was our first event ever doing something like that. Our first time using half of the equipment we had. We did have a few issues there, but Danny resolved them to the best he could at that time, and we're going to just learn as we go. We've also got many more plans for this YouTube channel. So if you have an idea or something you think would be great to see on this channel, let us know down in the comments or email us at info@KibbleWatches. There is no bad idea, there's just ideas, and I think we could definitely do quite a bit with them, so let us know what you think. Now this week, as you can see, every watch comes with a box, and I believe every watch with its papers as well, which is quite interesting. We did have a couple more watches, but they've already sold, so as always, make sure you're following on Instagram @KibbleWatches, and we showcase early on our stories what's coming soon. So always keep an eye out for that. And on our profile as well, you'll also see coming soon, little highlights reel, I think they call it. You can see everything on there. So keep up to date with it all and get in there before anyone else does, before they hit the website. And before I forget, like last week, what is on wrist? I am wearing a watch I keep toying whether to sell or not. And a lot of people on Instagram are saying I'm just messing with them. And maybe I am, maybe I'm not. We'll never know. But this is a 1952 Omega Seamaster bumper automatic waffle dial, unpolished case. I mean, it is stunning. I could go on about this watch all day, which is not what you're here for, so I'll keep it as that. There'll be a little bit of B-roll on screen for you, so you can see just how beautiful this watch is, and the watch you may be able to have or you may not be able to have, and we'll never know. So that's the part of the fun of this. So now that all the rambling is out the way, let's crack on with what's on the table. I mean, where do we begin? There are so many here, it's crazy. All right, let's start with the Ming. So starting off with this awesome Ming. This is the Ming Anthracite Grey Dial. Limited edition, 1701, as you can see. Really, really interesting dial there. I mean, it's quite difficult to capture in the photos. There you go. Look at that. Oh, this is the perks of this new camera. How cool does that look? Wow. Really interesting case design as well. I mean, it's what Ming are known for. As we flip it around, you'll see 1701 right there. Just a really, really good looking watch. Let me bring that in a little bit closer. See, there we go. Look at that, grade 5 titanium. I mean, this is just a really good looking watch. So inside this is a manually wound Solita SW2 210-1. As I said, the reference to this one is 1701, and it is a limited edition. So this one is from November 2017. It does come with its full box and paperwork. You can see on its original strap, original pin buckle right there, with Ming stated. It does come with some spare straps as well, which is fantastic. But the one thing Ming have really got right, and I think, you know, the last drop video we did had a Ming as well, and there was a few comments from people saying Ming is overrated, it's overhyped, and all these kind of things. And whilst there's definitely some context there and the reason people think that, I also think there's also context and a reason they're so hyped, because at the end of the day, a brand doesn't get there without merit and without reason, in my opinion. And this one is probably one of the most affordable that I've seen in a long, long time. So that's why I'm quite excited to bring this one, because while some of them are, you know, $5 plus now, at least the last one we had sold pretty quickly around that sort of price. This one is a fraction of that price and just as good in my opinion. But anyway, let's have a look on wrist and talk dimensions. Okay, so here we are on my 6 3/4, closer to 7-inch wrist now. You can see it looks really good, and it just wears really well. This is what Ming have absolutely nailed. The case sizes and the way it wears on wrist is just perfect. Interestingly, obviously this one being titanium, it is super light on wrist and you don't really notice it's there. It's 37.5mm by 41.5mm lug to lug, only 9.5mm thick, which again really helps with wearability because it sits nice and low on the wrist. And those really short, sharply curved lugs, again, just help with wearability. I think even as small as like a 5-inch wrist would be able to wear this, just because of how ergonomic the sort of design is. 20mm lugs, which again just helps with wearability and makes it flare out that little bit bigger. You have got those specific curved end links, so again you will require specific Ming straps, or at least straps that are curved to fit this case. So keep that in mind when looking for straps. But as I said, it comes with some extra straps, so you are spoiled for choice. But go check this one out on the website. From the Ming to a really cool sector dial Longines, which is giving some serious vintage vibes. Let's have a closer look. Next up is this Longines. I mean, how good does this watch look? And a lot of you will be looking at this like, wait a minute, haven't I seen that watch somewhere else? No, this is not the Hodinkee one. As you can see, it doesn't say chronometer right there. Hodinkee did do a limited edition. If I'm not mistaken, they are trading quite a bit higher than these, which makes this, in my opinion, a very good value proposition, because it is one good looking watch, and especially to be had under retail, I don't think you can go wrong. So this is a 2021 Longines Heritage Classic white sector dial. As you can see, the dial is split right there with a crosshair through the middle, beautiful blued hands, sub-seconds. It's obviously based on one of their heritage models, hence the fact it is in their heritage range. It is just one very, very good looking watch, and I think Longines have absolutely nailed this release. The specific reference to this is L2.828.4. You can see this condition of this, as I give the case back a wipe from my fingerprints, is like new condition. It is pretty much as close to brand new as you're going to get. You can even see on the strap where it's been sealed into the box, which by the way is massive. The box is ridiculously huge and costs a fortune to ship, and again, within the UK we do free shipping, including this massive box. So if you are local to Clerkenwell, I'd appreciate if you came and collected it. So that would save us a lot of aggro, but either way we'll obviously get it shipped. But a really gorgeous watch, really, really interesting. Inside is the automatic Longines Caliber L893. Obviously basically an ETA, but they like to give it their own caliber numbers. And that's the only thing that lets this watch down in my opinion, and it doesn't necessarily let it down. It is still a fantastic watch, but if only it was a tad bit thinner and manually wound, I think this would be the perfect sector dial watch, and I think Longines would have nailed it to the point where I'd be looking at my collection going, what shall I get rid of to keep it? And that's how much I really like this watch. But let's have a look on wrist and see what it looks like. Here we go on my 6 3/4, nearly 7-inch wrist. This works beautifully. Again, if it was just a fraction smaller and thinner, I think it would be absolutely perfect. So I'm hoping this is just the first of many models they're going to release, and I think a 36mm manually wound or 37 would be incredible in this range, and I think it'd do really well, especially with the recent releases from like Baltic and things at a much smaller size, and the success of those has really shown people are open to trying smaller watches. And I think it's also where the trends are going. But either way, this is still definitely a smaller watch at 38.5mm by 11mm thick, 47mm lug to lug, so under that sweet spot 50mm, so it still wears really well on even smaller wrists. And again, the only other thing that sort of lets it down a bit is the 19mm lugs. Not the end of the world. I think more and more strap manufacturers are opening up to 19mm because it's becoming more and more common, these odd strap sizes. But it does come with an extra strap in the box as well, including this obviously really nice black strap. So check it out on the website, get yourself a pretty good deal for a really, really cool watch. You won't be disappointed. From there to a personal watch that I will be sad to see go, but at the same time I think the prices have just gone a bit insane, so let's have a closer look. It's the Furlan Mori. So next is a watch that sort of became an instant cult classic as soon as it was released. Rightfully so or wrongfully so, I mean that's for you to decide, but this watch, there is no denying the beauty of it. This is the Ferlan Mori Havana Salmon, as you can see, really, really beautifully done. This is a watch that I had in the personal collection well, since it was released really. I actually was part of the Kickstarter campaign before it even reached their initial goal. And for those of you who have followed the story of this, it went absolutely bonkers, and they sold so many of them, and everyone was paying way over retail and are still doing so right now. Hence why this has come up for sale. I think it's an absolutely beautiful watch, but where the prices are at right now, for me personally, this money would just be far better put into other stock for watches for the business. Unfortunately, sometimes I have to weigh up the personal collection in that way, especially for these more affordable watches. This, when it was released all in, I think was just around £350. These are definitely over £1,000 above that now. And again, that explains why I'm selling it really. Being very honest, that's why, you know, the money can just be used better than it sitting in this really gorgeous but not really that kind of money watch in my opinion. That's the brutal truth. I'm being very honest with this, and some people are going to love that or hate it. But either way, it is one good looking watch. Obviously, for those of you who know this watch and have done your research, the reason I bought it was because of the case design. This is based on the early Pateks, Meadows. There's so many watches that had this case. This is a case that was inspired by Francois Bourgel. Same with the pushers and the crown. This exact one is definitely a throwback to the vintage Patek Chrono. I forget the exact reference of it, but the attention to detail on this watch is stupendous. I really do think, all in as a package, how it is, especially with the box and papers and everything it comes with, and the fact it is a Meca-Quartz movement, I still think this is a valid £500 to £550 watch out of retail. I really do. I think they undersold it initially. Where the prices are at now, I do think are inflated because of hype. But then how do you balance that? How do you control that, right? Because this watch, the salmon version, was only made for the Kickstarter. They're never going to make it again, this exact one with the salmon. So therefore, you're never going to be able to get another one of these again unless it's being sold pre-owned, which the prices are where the prices are. So it's a debate I've had with a few collectors, and it's a debate that will continue forever because this phenomenon will continue to happen with more and more brands as time goes on and as the industry grows and more people get into watches. That's just the reality of it. So the details of this one, I mean, we've gone through a fair few of them. The reference is 20201.1. Seiko Meca-Quartz inside, and this one is from September 2021 with its full box paperwork, extra strap, everything. It's probably been worn by me 10 to 15 times total, and with this one I have been quite careful with it. There may be a hairline scratch here and there if you proper look under a loupe, but for the most part I think condition is very good, so you won't be disappointed there. But let's put it on wrist and talk dimensions. And here we go on wrist, and you know what, putting this on wrist, I haven't put it on wrist since I decided it was going to go for sale, and I am wondering whether I'm doing the right thing, I've got to be honest, but here you go. Really gorgeous watch, 37.7mm by 45.5mm lug to lug. I mean, dimension wise this is perfect. Would smaller work? Yes, 100%, but I think 37.7 it's very specific for one, but it also wears really well. 11mm thick and 20mm lugs. Again, as I said, it does come with its extra strap. The strap is super nice, super comfortable, and just looks really good. I mean, let me pull my sleeve down a little bit. I mean, this watch just goes with any piece of clothing in any scenario. As you can see, I'm sort of reselling myself on it here. So go over to the website, buy before I change my mind, that's it, goodbye. Now to a watch brand that I go on about a lot, and rightfully so, that is the Oris, and this is the Aquis. Now for another really good looking watch, and an absolute finger magnet on the polished parts and the ceramic bezel, I've got to be honest, but this is the classic, I'd call it a classic now, the Oris Aquis Date Blue. This is the 43.5mm case. Now before you all run away thinking that is way too big for a watch, wait till you see it on wrist. I have to be honest, this wears so well to the point where I've owned, again for stock, but sort of kept accidentally for a few weeks, Oris Aquis's myself, and there's the GMT Aquis, which I've considered for so long now, probably like 2 years, and I've almost pulled the trigger multiple times. And again, in the 43.5mm, I personally, we had the smaller 39mm, I believe it is, 39.5. It didn't wear very well in my opinion, for me personally. I felt like it was just too small, whereas the 43.5 I think is perfect. But anyway, the specific reference to this is super long, so I'll do the abbreviated version. 0173377304135. I bet none of you followed that, but it's okay. You can see it comes on its integrated bracelet. There is a leather strap and a rubber strap that you can get from Oris directly. The rubber is really comfortable and really nice. I would highly recommend it if this watch is going to be sort of something you keep and swap out and do all kinds of fun things with. But the bracelet, incredibly well built, beautifully milled clasp. You've got dive extension, which you can still see still has a few stickers. And an exhibition case back. So inside here is the Oris Caliber 733, which is a Sellita SW200 or 220. I can never remember which one it is. I mean, you'll see all the information on the website. And it has the iconic red rotor, which is what Oris are sort of famous for now in some weird way among collectors. And I remember when I used to work retail, And we used to get just, you know, not your watch collector, but your kind of like person who likes watches, knows a little bit. And we'd get an Oris out and they turn it around and they go, oh, this is the brand with the red rotor. So it's one of those things that I think Oris have made synonymous with themselves, which is kind of cool to see. But the blue on this, absolutely stunning. One of my favorite blues on these watches because it pops. And in certain lights, it's jet black. In certain lights, it's this crazy blue. It really works and it gradiates as it goes around. Black ceramic bezel, which again is a nice contrast against the blue. I'm very glad they didn't do a blue bezel because of the dynamic range of this blue. On the dial, the blue on the bezel would have never worked in my opinion, so right choice with the black. Screw down crown, I think it's 300 meters of water resistance. I mean, you can't really go wrong. All round great watch, good looking watch, but let's put it on wrist and have a look at how it wears. And here we go. On my 6 3/4, nearly 7-inch wrist, I have had to open the dive extension because Leah decided she wanted to wear it around the office for the day. And I haven't put a link back in it yet, or 2 links, I can't remember how many I took out, but a really, really cool looking watch. So this one is from December 2017. It does come with its box and paperwork, and condition, as you can see from this video, is very, very good. There's some hairline scratches on the clasp, usual signs of wear, but from 2017, the person who owned this before clearly didn't wear it that often because the sort of condition reflects that. 43.5mm, as I said, by 50.5mm lug to lug, so again, that sweet spot right on the end, but because of the integrated bracelet and the fact it comes straight off into the bracelet, it just sits on the wrist as it should. I actually wouldn't change this. I wouldn't go smaller. I wouldn't change anything about it. 12.5mm thick and 12mm from that point there in terms of the lugs, but again, integrated design, so that doesn't really count. Yeah, I mean, there's not really much more I can say. I think Oris do very, very good watches at their retail price. So when you get them pre-owned for under £1,000 like this, I think that's so much watch for the money, and I think very few can compete. So go check it out. From there to another brand I talk about quite a bit, and that is Nomos. This is a really interesting, quite a bit older model, so let's have a closer look. Next up is another gorgeous watch, and this one, just like the Longines, you might be saying, hey, I'm pretty sure a certain company beginning with H did a limited edition run of this watch, and you would not be mistaken. They are very creative. They found this design from 2004, actually a little bit earlier, and made it a chronometer, and job done. So well done, that brand, you did very well. However, this one can be had for an absolute bargain, and it's the same watch. So yeah, you make the decision. Anyway, this is the Nomos Tangente Sport, grey dial, reference 501, manually wound alpha inside, which is basically an ETA. Pretty much it's their in-house movement, but the core of it is still the same. From December 2004, so this is an early Oris, as you can see, and it just looks damn good. I mean, it's unpolished, so we can always have it polished for you an additional cost, and it would look brand new. However, it's not too bad. I mean, you know, as you wear it, you're going to scratch it anyway, especially considering the whole thing is polished. There's no sort of brushing on it, but a damn good looking watch. Let's get a bit closer on that dial. There you go. You got those blued hands, really pop, and obviously the Bauhaus design, which Nomos are famous for, and the Tangente case with the angular lugs that just come straight off the case and angle straight down. It really, really works. We paired it on this black suede. I personally really like it. But at the end of the day, you can put it on whatever you want. And I had this conversation with a collector recently who really didn't like one of the straps we put on one of the watches. And that was what was holding him back. And when he came in, he had a look at the watch and was just blown away by the watch itself. And I said, you know, don't focus on the strap. The strap makes up less than 1% of the watch, really, when you really think about it. We have a range of straps here. We can swap them out. As long as it's not integrated, of course, then we may struggle. But a watch like this, there are endless options, so don't worry about it. But let's have a look at this one on wrist and talk dimensions. Okay, and here we go. So a smaller watch at 36.5mm by 46mm lug to lug, but wow, does that look good. In my opinion, that is one good looking watch. So the Tangente and the smaller case sizes I think work perfectly, because the bigger they get, the longer those lugs get. I mean, 36.5 and it's already 46mm lug to lug, so you can imagine as you add 2mm onto the case size, you're probably adding a lot more than 2mm onto the lug to lug length, and you're already approaching that 50mm I always go on about. So keep that in mind. Don't be scared away by the 36mm case if you do like slightly bigger watches. 7.5mm thick, so sits super low against the wrist, and again helped by the fact those lugs come straight off the case and angle down. just a good looking watch, and 18mm on the strap length. So again, endless options. Don't worry about it if you don't like the black suede. We can provide you a different one, don't worry. But check it out and save yourself a load of money on that certain new watch by a certain new company that slapped chronometer on the dial. So there you go. Now onto a brand I have seen, heard of, but never had in stock. It is a Torby. Let's have a closer look. Now to something you don't see every day, but wow, that is one big and good looking watch. This is a Torby Marine Arabic Enamel B2C, as it's called, with decorated movement. Now, when we flip it over, you're going to see a huge watch. Now, for some of you, for some of you proper aficionados out there, you'll already know what this is. This is a Unitaz or an ETA, or often ETA Unitaz, because they sort of collaborated. 6498-1. So these were used in pocket watches, early pilot watches. This movement has been used across the board for a very long time. It is very reliable and is just a good looking movement when you have the case to support it, because as you can see, and we'll get onto dimensions exactly later, but 42mm, and this takes up almost the whole of the case. So that is why you don't see it in many watches unless they are big watches like this. Now, as the name suggests, that is a true enamel dial. You've got blued hands there, which look stunning, and they come in so many different varieties if you go on the website. So, you know, finding the exact one will be difficult. But the retail of these are fairly high. I think we're asking about 1/3 of what the retail was. So you're saving yourself a nice chunk of money. The original strap is in the box with the original deploying buckle. We've put it on a new strap just so it looks a bit better. Case is in very fair condition, especially considering the age, which is February 2011. It does come with its box and paperwork. You can see nice big onion crown right there, which again just really lends itself to the overall design, and also the bigger size at 42mm. It's a good looking watch, and to get a manually wound Unitaz enamel dial wearable for this kind of price, I think is very, very good. So let's show on wrist, talk dimensions. And here we go. So it's definitely no small watch at 42mm by 52mm lug to lug. So it's over that 50mm I always go on about. So it does have a little tiny bit of hangover, in my opinion, on my wrist. So do keep that in mind if you're someone who doesn't sort of like that kind of thing. 11.5mm thick, which helps with the wearability because that is still quite thin considering the size. And you've got 22mm lugs. So again, endless strap options, and with that enamel white dial and the popper blue, anything would work on this. I think a nice grey strap with maybe like contrasting blue stitching, something really wild, that could look pretty cool. But endless options, so go check this one out and pick up a bargain. Now let's take a look at a watch that the brand actually discontinued because it just didn't do very well, but I think a lot of you guys and girls really missed the boat on this. This is the Marlowe Mora Sands. What a mouthful. Let's have a closer look. And here we go, another really good looking watch. Another smaller brand here in the UK that I think are just doing very interesting designs at the moment. They're not using the most sophisticated movements for the most part, but they are doing very, very cool designs. And this is one of them, one that I really like. And not a lot of people did because, as I said, it got discontinued because not that many people bought it. But they're sold out of them all, I believe, now. And, you know, I think it's a really good looking watch, and I think it's one that people will warm up to as they see it in person. So this is the Marlowe Mora Sands, which is the colour name. Mora is a lock in Scotland, I believe. I apologise if I've got that completely wrong. On the case back, you can actually see a monster, which is believed to live in the lock. Very similar to, obviously, the Loch Ness Monster. A lock, for those of you who don't know, is a big body of water, basically. So yeah, really, really cool story. Something a bit more different, especially the case finishing. I mean, look at this. It's like some gunmetal scratched effect. I don't even know what you'd call it. And that knurling on the bezel right there. It's all just very unique and very different. It's not something that they've clearly sort of gone to some factory somewhere and picked off the shelf parts. Like, all this has been made for them, and especially that dial. I mean, you can see the design influence that's gone into it. Is like no other. Really interesting hands, really interesting indices. 310 meters of water resistancy, if I'm not mistaken, is the depth of the lock that it's based on. So again, a nice little nod to that fact. A nice feeling bezel, actually, which again is important. I think there's just so much in this watch spec wise that not a lot of people realise. And the Miyota, so it's an automatic Miyota in here, and it's the 9000 series, so 9039. Again, one of the higher grade Miyotas. So whilst it's not a Solita or an ETA or something, it is one of the best of the Japanese range movements that you can get. It does come on this really nice leather strap, or at least I think this is really nice, and it does come with a spare strap in the box as well, which I believe is rubber. Just a good looking watch. I don't see what else to say about it, to be honest. I think a lot of people really missed the boat on this one. But let's show on wrist, talk dimensions, because again, this one wears really, really well. Okay, and here we go on wrist. So you can see it wears quite proud, but you'll be surprised because it's only 12.5mm thick, but because of the way the case is shaped, it makes it look like it sticks up more than it does. But it is a very, very comfortable watch at 40mm by 47.5mm lug to lug and 20mm lugs. It's a good looking watch. It wears well, it's different, and you know what, in a world where there's so many dive watches now that all kind of look the same, this is a breath of fresh air in my opinion. And I think Marlo, well done to you for actually trying something different, and I think people will eventually wake up to it. I'm just sorry for you that they didn't wake up to it when you released it. But check this one out on the website. Closing in on the end, but let's have a look at the Stratton Chrono. So for those of you who have been following the channel for some time, and by some time I mean probably 4 years, when I first started properly selling watches, I actually used to get quite a few of these Strattons in. We used to get probably one a week at that point. For some reason there was just this big hype around them, and I seemed to always be the one who got sent them when people wanted to sell them. So it's kind of interesting getting one back in and seeing how the brand has developed, and you know, their quality has sort of changed, it's got better, and their dials have got a lot better in my opinion. But this is a 2020 Stratton Speciale, I believe that's how you pronounce it, brown dial chronograph with a Meca-Quartz, which is the Seiko VK67, a Meca-Quartz that is used in a lot of these chronograph watches, but a very reliable, very good movement. And for those of you who are wondering what the Meca means, it means when you start the chronograph, it looks like a mechanical watch, a Meca-Quartz. And it also flies back just like a mechanical watch, whereas as for those of you who've had quartz chronographs, you'll know it usually spins around nice and slowly. It looks a bit odd. And just like the old days, sirens. Now, you probably wouldn't have heard it as loud as it used to be in the other office because we have very good windows here and we're much higher. So yeah, either way, as I was saying, a very good looking watch. And brown dials, I think, are sort of a next wave really. Brown dials used to be a thing that people thought were a bit strange, whereas now I think people are really growing on them, and especially with these pops of orange, it just really works. Good looking watch on a bracelet with a Jubilee style. It does come with its box and papers from 2020. Let's put it on wrist and talk dimensions. And here we go. For you 70s watch lovers out there, this is going to be for you. And I love that era, so this is a watch for me as well. 42mm by 41mm lug to lug. So it is wider than it is long. 13.5mm thick and 22mm lugs, so endless options there as well. I believe it comes with another strap. I can't remember off the top of my head, but a very good looking watch. Interesting design, unique look, and I think if you're looking for an affordable chronograph that is something a little bit different, I wouldn't look any further. I think this is a great buy. And last but certainly not least, a watch that we've had a few in now and people seem to really like them. It is a Wallbrook. Next up is a watch we've had in a few times of different variants, and I can't remember off the top of my head if we had this exact one in. I think we might have, but anyway. This is the Wallbrook Douglas Skin Diver World Timer. All the names in there. So Wallbrook is the name of the company. Douglas is a brand, and again, everything's on the website. I'm going off what I remember from reading it a little while ago, so I'm probably going to get half of it wrong, so check the website for definite. But Douglas was a brand name that the company used to use, and you will find these old watches in this sort of style from the 70s with Douglas stated on the dial, so that's why Wallbrook have bought that back, and Wallbrook used to be a brand as well. The bezel is a rotating clicky bezel, so like a dive bezel with a world time function, so you can track different time zones, and you can see the lume is bright orange, again very reminiscent of that 70s, usually more affordable divers of the time, because they had this sort of cheaper lume, and it was very, very bright orange, and they were usually chrome cases. So it's quite interesting that Douglas or Wallbrook have decided to bring this affordable diver back in a obviously steel case, better built construction, just better overall. So, you know, good on them for doing it. This is the automatic Miyota 8315 inside, and this one comes from June 2020 with its box and papers. You can see it's on this sort of fabric strap with a leather backing bund. I mean, I've never really seen anything quite like this. It works with the design, but as I've said previously, I'm not a fan of bund straps, so I'd be taking it straight off this personally. But this is how it came. So let's show on wrist and talk dimensions. And there we go on wrist. Again, it does work. I've got to be honest, this look, strange as it is, really does work for the design. So, you know, fair play to them for trying something a little bit different. But it is 40mm by 48mm lug to lug, 13.5mm thick, and 20mm lugs, so endless options on straps and drilled lug holes. Thank you for doing that. I wish more brands would. But a good looking watch, again, for a very, very, very affordable price. Save yourself on the imports and the taxes and buy this from us because it is essentially new. The previous owner didn't wear it. So you're getting yourself a nice new watch for an affordable price. So there you have it, guys and girls. That was this week's drop. 9 pieces that are hitting the website. Make sure you go over there right now, check them out. Down in the description, you'll see a link to each individual one, but obviously just go to kibblewatches.co.uk. It is nice and simple. We're also working on multiple things behind the scenes, lots of exciting things to come, including straps coming to the website, so keep an eye out for that. You'll already see under shop a little bar for straps that you can't go on just yet, so as soon as you see that and it's clickable, you'll see the straps on there, so keep an eye out for that. And also just more content. We're working on a lot behind the scenes. It's very exciting here at Kibble Watches at the moment, and I hope it's going to continue that way. So thank you all very much for watching, and we'll see you all in the next episode. Take care.